My father sold me into an arranged marriage to save his failing business. He thought he was trading his daughter for power, money, and a powerful alliance. But what he didn't know was that the groom's empire was already in my hands, and the wedding day was not just a ceremony. It was going to be my revenge. But before I tell you what really happened, please like and subscribe the channel if you enjoy emotional, dark, and suspenseful stories like this. Your support means a lot. Now, let me tell you how my life turned into a business contract. My father's name is Richard Cole. To the world, he was a powerful businessman. To me, he was a man who saw his daughter as a deal. He built coal trading from nothing. People respected him, employees feared him, investors trusted him. At home, he was cold, strict, and obsessed with control. My older brother, Lucas, was his favorite. He was loud, confident, and trained to become the next CEO. Everyone loved him. And then there was me, Emma Cole, the quiet daughter, the backup plan. In our house, sons inherited companies. Daughters secured alliances. I understood that the night my father called me into his office. "Sit down, Emma," he said in a calm but dangerous voice. My mother was sitting beside him, silent, like always. He didn't waste time. "Parker Group wants a merger," he said. "They have a son, Ethan Parker. He will be their future CEO. I already felt sick. I knew what was coming. You will marry him." The words hit me like ice water. I tried to speak. I tried to say I wanted my own life. I wanted to work. I wanted to choose who I loved. He looked at me like I was a problem. "This marriage will save our company," he said. "Do you think feelings matter more than millions of dollars?" Millions of dollars. That's what my life was worth. I looked at my mother, hoping she would defend me. She didn't. She just stared at the floor. The decision was already made. A few days later, I met Ethan Parker. He was tall, calm, polite, and very professional. He didn't talk about love. He talked about factories, contracts, and global expansion. That's when I realized something terrifying. This wasn't a marriage. This was a corporate merger with a wedding ring. That night, I sat in my room and cried. I felt like a product being sold to the highest bidder. But my mind kept going back to one person. My grandfather, Arthur Cole. He was the only person who ever believed in me. He taught me about money, investments, and quiet power. "Emma," he once told me, "real power is hidden. People only see what they're allowed to see." He died when I was 13. My father said he was old-fashioned and bad with money. He said he left nothing important. But 2 months ago, I got a call. A lawyer asked for me by name. He said my grandfather left something for me, something my father never wanted me to know about. I didn't tell anyone, not my parents, not my brother, not even Ethan, because what I learned that day changed everything. My wedding was no longer a sacrifice. It was a plan. And my family had no idea what was coming. 2 months before the engagement announcement, I received a call that my father never knew about. "Is this Emma Cole?" a calm male voice asked. "Yes," I replied, confused. "My name is Mr. Harris. I am your grandfather Arthur Cole's lawyer. He left something for you. It's time you came to my office." I thought it was a mistake. My father always said my grandfather left nothing valuable. He said the old man wasted money on emotions, not investments. But something in the lawyer's voice felt serious. So I went, alone. Mr. Harris was an old man with sharp eyes and slow movements. He opened a thick folder and looked at me carefully. "Your grandfather loved you very much," he said. "He prepared for a future he believed would be difficult for you." My hands started shaking. He slid several documents across the table. Company shares, legal trusts, investment portfolios. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then he said the words that changed my life. "You own 51% of Parker Group Holdings." I felt like I couldn't breathe. Parker Group, the same company my father wanted to merge with, the same company owned by Ethan Parker's family, the same empire everyone feared and respected. I thought it was a joke. "There must be a mistake," I whispered. "There is no mistake," he said calmly. Your grandfather secretly invested in Parker Group decades ago, before your father even met the Parkers. Over the years, those shares grew. He placed them in a trust under your name when you were a child. My mind went blank. I owned the groom's company. I owned Ethan's future empire, and nobody knew. But why didn't my father know? I asked. Mr. Harris looked at me in silence for a moment. Your grandfather did not trust your father. He believed your father would use you, so he made sure the documents would only be released to you when you turned 21. I felt anger, sadness, and power all at the same time. My father had been planning to sell me into a marriage to save his company. He thought he was making a deal with a powerful family. He had no idea his daughter already controlled that power. I walked out of that office in shock. The world looked different. People looked smaller. That night, I sat in my room holding the documents in my hands. I thought about my childhood, about being ignored, about being treated like a backup plan, about being traded like a contract. And then I thought about my wedding. They thought I was walking into a cage, but I was walking onto a chessboard. I decided something that night. I would not tell anyone. Not my parents, not my brother, not Ethan. I wanted to see how far they would go. I wanted to see how they would treat me thinking I was powerless. And most of all, I wanted to choose the perfect moment to reveal the truth. The wedding day, when everyone would be watching, when there would be no escape, when their faces would show everything. Because by then, it wouldn't just be a marriage, it would be a public collapse. After I learned the truth, I started seeing everything differently. My father thought he was in control, the Parkers thought they were the powerful family, and Ethan thought I was just a quiet girl who had no choice. None of them knew I was already the most powerful person in the room. The engagement announcement was big. Business partners, investors, and media were invited. My father looked proud, like he had just won a war. "This alliance will make us unstoppable," he told everyone. Ethan stood beside me, calm and polite. He smiled at me like we were a normal couple, but I knew this was all business for him. Or at least, that's what I thought. After the engagement, Ethan started talking to me more. Not about companies, not about contracts, about life. He asked me what I liked, what I studied, what I dreamed about. No one in my family had ever asked me that. "I want to build something of my own," I told him one evening. "Something that belongs to me." He smiled. "That's exactly what I want too," he said. "My family thinks I only care about money, but I want to change how we do business." For the first time, I saw him as a person, not just a deal. But I couldn't forget the truth. He didn't know his company was mine. He didn't know his future was in my hands. And I didn't know if I should feel guilty or powerful. Meanwhile, my father was planning everything behind my back. I overheard him talking to my uncle late at night. "Once the merger is done, we will control half of Parker Group," my father said. "And with Emma married to their son, they won't be able to move against us." Control. That's all he cared about. He wasn't just selling me, he was using me as a weapon. That night, I realized something scary. If my father found out the truth, he would try to take everything from me. He would try to control my shares. He would try to control me. So I decided to stay silent. I acted like the obedient daughter. I smiled. I followed every wedding plan. I played my role perfectly. But inside, I was planning something much bigger. The closer the wedding came, the more my father became obsessed with power. He started talking about replacing the Parkers in the leadership. He started acting like the future CEO of their empire. And Ethan had no idea what his father and my father were planning. One evening, Ethan told me something that shocked me. "My father doesn't trust your father," he said quietly. "He thinks this marriage is just a business move." I almost laughed. If only he knew the real truth. The wedding date was set, media was invited, the merger documents were ready, and my secret was still hidden. But something happened a week before the wedding that almost ruined everything. My father found the lawyer's card in my room, and he started asking questions. He walked into my room without knocking, holding the card between his fingers like evidence in a courtroom. "Who is Mr. Harris?" he asked. his voice calm, but dangerous. My heart started racing, but I forced myself to stay calm. "He's just a lawyer I met for university advice," I lied. He stared at me for a long time. My father was very good at reading people. He could smell fear. "A lawyer doesn't give advice to students for free," he said. "Tell me the truth." I felt sweat on my palms. If he found out, everything would be over. He would take control of the shares. He would manipulate me. He would destroy my plan. So I did what I learned from him. I acted. "I wanted to know about my grandfather's will," I said softly. "You always said he left nothing. I just wanted to confirm." He froze for a second. Then his face changed. "He was a foolish old man," my father snapped. "He wasted money and made bad decisions. There is nothing for you to find." "But why hide it?" I asked quietly. He stepped closer. "Because I am your father," he said, "and you don't need to dig into the past." His voice was cold. It was a warning. That night, I knew my grandfather had been right not to trust him. After that, my father became suspicious. He started checking my phone. He asked my mother to watch me. He told my brother to stay close to me. They thought I was hiding something. And I was. Meanwhile, Ethan started noticing the tension. "You seem scared," he told me one afternoon. "Is my family doing something wrong?" "No," I said. "It's my father. He likes control." He nodded slowly. "My father is the same," he said. "That's why I wanted this marriage to be different." Different. That word made my chest tighten. For the first time, I started to like him, and that made everything more complicated. The wedding was only 2 weeks away. My father was finalizing the merger documents. He was already acting like he owned Parker Group. "Our daughter will be Mrs. Parker. After the merger, we will reshape the board." He had no idea. One night, I overheard a phone call that scared me more than anything. "If she refuses, remind her who controls her life," my father said. "She signs what I tell her to sign. After marriage, those shares will be family assets." My blood went cold. He was planning to take control of my shares after the wedding. He thought I had nothing, but he still planned to control me. That's when I realized something. My wedding day reveal had to be perfect. If I waited too long, he might trap me legally. If I revealed too early, he would attack me. So I contacted Mr. Harris again. "I need everything ready for the wedding day," I told him. "I want the truth revealed publicly." He paused. "Are you sure?" he asked. "This will destroy your family." "They destroyed me first," I replied. But then, something happened that changed everything again. Ethan told me his father wanted to meet me privately, alone, without my father. And what he told me during that meeting made me question my entire plan. Ethan closed the door behind us and gestured for me to sit. His usual calm, polite demeanor was gone, replaced by something heavier, more serious. "I need to be honest," he began, his eyes never leaving mine. "My father, he doesn't see you as just a bride. He sees you as a threat." I froze. Threat? My plan, my carefully hidden shares, my revenge. It all felt suddenly fragile. "What do you mean?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. Ethan leaned back in his chair, folding his hands. "He thinks you're weak, that you'll do whatever he says, that he can control you after the wedding. But I've been noticing things. How he's been talking to his lawyers, checking your schedule, even asking about your grandfather's will. He's not just planning the merger. He's planning to strip you of anything you might actually own." I felt a cold rush of fear. My father's obsession with power was one thing, but now I realized Ethan had been seeing the same signs. "So, you're telling me he's trying to trap me?" I whispered. "Yes. And I don't think he knows you already own Parker Group. That makes him even more dangerous, because if he finds out after the wedding, he'll try to take control anyway." I felt my chest tighten. My plan, the wedding reveal, the humiliation, power shift, suddenly didn't feel like it belonged solely to me anymore. "You're offering to help me?" I asked, disbelief creeping into my voice. "Yes," he said simply. "Because if we don't, your father wins. And I don't want him to win. Not you, not me, not anyone." I wanted to keep control, to play this alone, but a part of me knew he was right. My plan was no longer just mine. And for the first time, I realized that maybe, just maybe, I couldn't predict everything on my own. The wedding, my revenge, everything I had imagined had just shifted, and I didn't know if I was ready for what came next. The days before the wedding felt unreal. Everyone was smiling, celebrating, planning a perfect future. But inside, I felt like I was walking toward a battlefield. My father was happier than ever. He talked about the merger like it was already done. He talked about power like it was guaranteed. "After this wedding," he told investors, "our family will sit at the top of Parker Group." I listened quietly. He had no idea how wrong he was. Ethan started acting differently too. He wasn't just polite anymore. He started treating me like a partner. "Whatever happens at the wedding," he said one night, "don't panic. Stay calm. Power belongs to the person who controls the room." My grandfather's words echoed in my head. Real power is hidden. The wedding day finally arrived. The hall was massive. Crystal chandeliers, media cameras everywhere. Business leaders, investors, politicians, everyone who mattered was there. My father stood at the front, looking proud, powerful, unstoppable. My mother smiled like this was the happiest day of her life. My brother Lucas looked bored, already imagining himself as CEO someday. And I walked down the aisle in a white dress, looking like the perfect, obedient daughter. But inside, I felt like a storm. The priest began the ceremony. Everyone watched us like this was a fairy tale merger of two empires. Then came the moment I had been waiting for. When the priest asked if anyone had any objections, I stepped forward. The room went silent. My father turned, confused. Ethan looked at me, calm, like he already knew what was coming. "I have something to say," I said into the microphone. My voice echoed through the hall. "I've been quiet my whole life, treated like a backup plan, a business deal, a contract." People started whispering. My father's smile faded. "But today, I want everyone to know the truth about this merger and who really owns Parker Group." Gasps filled the room. My father's face went pale. I nodded toward Mr. Harris, who stood up and handed documents to the board members and media. "According to legal trusts created by my grandfather, Arthur Cole," I said, my hands shaking but my voice strong, "I own 51% of Parker Group Holdings." The room exploded. Investors stood up, reporters shouted questions. My father looked like he had just been stabbed. "This is impossible," he whispered. I looked directly at him. "You tried to sell me for power, but I was already the power." My brother stared at me like I was a stranger. My mother started crying. Ethan stepped beside me, placing a hand on my shoulder. "And as of today," he said into the microphone, "Emma Cole is the majority shareholder of Parker Group. This marriage is not a merger. It's a partnership." My father collapsed into his chair. Everything he built, everything he planned, everything he thought he controlled was never his. And as the cameras flashed, I realized this wasn't just revenge. This was the moment I took back my life. But I had no idea what my father would do next would turn this victory into a nightmare. He stood up abruptly, his face red with rage. "Stop this!" he shouted, pointing at the media and investors. "This is illegal. These documents are fake." I stayed calm. "I assure you, Father, they are not." But he didn't care. He stormed toward me, his hand raised as if to grab the microphone. Security rushed in, but he pushed them aside. "Emma, you're destroying our family. You'll regret this," he screamed. And that's when I realized he would never admit defeat. He had spent a lifetime controlling everyone, and now he was desperate. Desperate people are dangerous. He lunged at me. I barely stepped back in time. Gasps echoed through the hall. Cameras captured every moment. Then Lucas tried to intervene. "Father, calm down!" But my father shoved him aside, eyes fixed only on me. It was chaos. Investors were shouting. Media were filming everything. My mother collapsed into a chair, crying. Ethan stepped forward calmly, placing himself between my father and me. "Richard Cole," he said, voice steady, "if you make one wrong move, you will be arrested. For assault, for intimidation, for fraud." My father froze. The room held its breath. And then something happened I never expected. The man who had always been untouchable, the man who had traded me like a commodity, broke down. He sank to the floor, clutching his head. You think you've won," he whispered, shaking. "But I am your father." I looked at him. "Yes, father," I said softly, "and yet I am in control. You taught me to fight, to survive, and to see power clearly. Today, I do what you never could." The investors, the media, the Parker board, all of them saw it. My father was no longer a titan. He was just a man, defeated by the daughter he underestimated. Ethan took my hand, squeezing it gently. "We did this together," he said. And for the first time, I smiled, not as a daughter, not as a pawn, not as a weapon, but as Emma Cole. My father was removed from the board that very night. Lucas was forced to step aside, and I finally had everything I had ever been denied. The wedding ended quietly. No cheers, no celebrations, just the cold satisfaction of victory. I looked around at the empire I now owned, and I knew one thing with certainty. No one would ever underestimate me again. The betrayal, the manipulation, the years of being treated as nothing, all of it had led to this moment. And I had won. But in the silence of that hall, as I held my power in my hands, I realized something dark and undeniable. Power comes with a price, and the price was never over.